Today we're going to take a look at two different Samsung OLED TVs and put them side by side to show you what the differences could be if you're getting an S95D or an S90D. Hey everyone, what's going on? KG here from SamMobile. We're going to talk about the S95D versus the S90D. The S90D is going to be kind of a mid-range OLED TV that Samsung is offering, and in some cases, in some regions, it may not even be a QD-OLED like I'm showing off today. It could be a WOLED. I've explained that in our S90D review video that's posted here on SamMobile, so check that out if you are in a different region other than the US. This is going to definitely be really beneficial for you to know that information. But let's say you get a QD-OLED, then it's going to be very similar to this next one, the S95D, which is a QD-OLED, but the difference between the S95D and the S90D is going to be that the S95D is a Generation 3 panel, which means that it's going to be brighter and have more impactful colors than the Samsung S90D. First, let's talk about a few things where they are very similar, and that's going to be that they both have 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, and in this case, they're both going to be QD-OLED panels. Another similarity that they share is going to be that they use the same exact processor. So you're going to have the same exact AI technology built into the processor itself. So you have AI upscaling and all the great features that go along with the NQ4 AI Gen 2 processor. So you're not missing out there whether you get the S90D or the S95D. They're both using Tizen OS, which means you're going to have the same exact experience whether you get the S95D or the S90D in terms of the operating system. But that's where it ends when it comes down to the similarities. Now we'll have to get into the differences, starting with the screen coating. The S95D has a screen coating that's different from the S90D. I've explained the screen coating in depth in the S95D review if you need to take a further look into that, but pretty much it's going to be a glare-free design. This is going to be really good in a bright sun-filled room. The S90D, on the other hand, has a more traditional glossy screen coating. One of the big differences with the S90D and the S95D is going to be the way that you connect your cables to the TV. The S95D features a one connect box, which is just one wire that connects into the TV with a separate breakout box that has all your ports on this box. This is different from the S90D, which is going to feature pretty much your traditional design in the back with all your HDMI ports on the back of your TV. In terms of picture quality, you can see that they're pretty similar in how they act and perform, but when it comes down to higher graded HDR content, then you can see a difference as the S95D will be able to produce a much brighter image than the S90D overall, having more color brightness and just an overall better brightness in general when it comes down to this TV. This is largely in part because the S95D is using a third generation Samsung display QD-OLED panel, and the way that Samsung has made these panels perform out of the factory kind of backs that up. In terms of picture quality, there's no difference in sharpness and clarity with the S95D and the S90D. The biggest difference is going to be with the brightness and the way that the HDR is being tone mapped. And there's just something about the way that the S95D does its tone map. It seems like I'm getting brighter, more impactful highlights, while the S90D at times can leave highlights feeling a little bit flat in comparison. Now, on the flip side, when you're watching content that's graded at a more conservative level in HDR, or if you're watching SDR content, chances are there's a lot of times where these are going to look very similar on both the S90D and the S95D. So it's really going to be certain situations where the S95D really sticks out. Otherwise, they're really similar across the board in terms of the picture quality. Now, when we're comparing game mode, one thing that stuck out to me was that in game mode for the S90D compared to the S95D, there was a little bit more tweaking that had to be done. For example, with the S90D, sometimes highlights would clip at the default contrast values. So I found that you have to reduce the contrast to about 45 or else you will get blown out highlights like you see in the clouds in this clip right here. The S95D, on the other hand, does not have this problem. In terms of how they perform in game mode, outside of that though, they're really great, and I think that at times they're hard to tell apart in certain games. Like I mentioned before with the HDR content, unless it's a game that's really pushing the boundaries into higher graded content, then we are looking at a very similar experience across the board. The S95D is able to get to higher peak brightness in game mode compared to the S90D. Otherwise, I think most people will be fine with the S90D when it comes down to gaming. S95D is great and it is a better gaming TV than the S90D, but it's definitely more of a luxury purchase if you are a gamer. Now, a big reason a lot of you guys are going to pick the S90D over the S95D is going to be the price tag. There's no doubt about it. If you look at the 77-inch S90D, in the US it's going for $21.99, while the S95D is going for $41.99. These prices can change depending on when you're watching this and which region you're in, so definitely check out the links in the description for up-to-date pricing information. But with that said, I mean, yeah, it's a big price gap, and it is hard to make an argument for getting the S95D over the S90D when that price gap is so significant. Yes, the S95D is a better TV overall. It's a more premium TV overall. And if you need that OLED glare-free design, it's the only one that has that. But the price difference to me is definitely a tough ask because I don't think the S90D is that far off of the S95D. One of the bigger selling points for the S95D for a lot of people may be that glare-free design, but there's a lot of people that don't like that glare-free design, and that's because it does have a different effect when light hits it. So it really depends on how light hits it and what direction it hits it from, but it can diffuse lighting and kind of create a really bad experience if you have it in the wrong location. So your room matters a lot when you're talking about choosing the S95D. That's why a lot of people like the S90D over the S95D because they're very similar in picture quality. I'd say the S95D is better overall in picture quality, but is it by that much? I think most people should go with the S90D unless you are going to be in a situation where you're in a very bright room, a challenging environment for the S90D where you may have glare on the TV. That's where the S95D could really come in handy. But for some of you guys in different regions, you may not be able to get your hands on a QD-OLED in a certain size with the S90D, so the S95D might be your only option. Definitely something to look into if you want a QD-OLED. You may have to go with the S95D. We would love to hear your opinion on the S95D and the S90D. Which one are you looking to get? Tell us in the comments, and you're definitely going to want to check out our individual reviews of the S90D and the S95D on SamMobile. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day, and I hope to see you in the next one.